Okay, welcome back. It is time to change the oil. So guys, today, if this is the first time you're doing this, I think you need to take into consideration that you might need about 2 to 2.5 hours to do the job. And you don't want to have any other time constraints, pressing on you while you're meant to do this. So you can just sort of relax and maybe you want to have another vehicle or a friend available so that you can maybe go and get something from an auto store if you've missed something in the process. So that way you can just get it all done safely and neatly. Let's go. Now, got to make sure the car is in park and the handbrake is on. The engine must also be cooled down substantially, otherwise you're going to burn yourself. Alright, first of all, some safety stuff. We need some hard, solid ground to do this job, and we need some good, correctly rated equipment to jack the car up. So you need some quality stands, at least 2 quality stands, and then 1 quality jack, because you will be underneath the car at times doing this process. Remember, this car weighs almost 2 tons, so you have to use the right equipment. So you've got to find the mounting point, which is on the seam of the car, on the passenger side first. And when you're happy with that, you can then take the trolley jack down. Now, to the driver's side. We need to loosen the wheel nuts a little bit first before we jack it up. You're definitely going to need a breaker bar for this job, and the socket size is 21 millimeters. The deep socket like this one with the plastic is good to keep the wheel safe. Now it's time to position the trolley jack back under the car on the jacking point at the front. Just take your time to get it in the right position and start lifting. You want to make sure you've got the stand nice and secure right underneath the car on the seam, and then only then are you ready to release the jack and let that come down a little bit. Or you can leave it on if you want extra safety. Now you have the wheel up off the ground, you're ready to take the nuts off completely. It will take a little bit of fiddling because the wheel will try to move as you are trying to loosen them off. You could use a drill or an impact socket gun to speed up this part rather than just using your hands like I am. Now they're out. It is kind of heavy, so just take care when taking that off. So for this oil change, you have to remove the wheel because the oil filter is tucked away behind there, behind that panel. These clips, they could be different depending on who's been working on your car. Mine were all different from each other, and some of them were kind of just almost impossible to get out without brute force. So I'd recommend once you do get them all out, buying some generic ones off eBay or your auto store or Amazon or whatever. They're pretty cheap to buy in bulk, and then you can swap whatever ones are wrong or dodgy or old or whatever out for some fresh ones, and then you'll have plenty of more fresh ones later for swapping and replacing them. This part really was quite frustrating as some of these just did not want to move. I had to almost break them off, some of them. Here it is, oil filter. Quite a tricky spot to get to in the first place, but once you're there, it's nice and accessible. Now you want to take off the oil filler cap. so that you don't have like a sort of an airlock in there. This helps the oil drain. So the drain plug here uses a 14mm bolt, so you can either ratchet or a spanner. You've got to do this bit just slowly. You want to loosen it off just enough so that it starts dripping and not just gushing out everywhere. Get your bucket in the right spot, just carefully place the bucket, slowly do the screw. It's going to start coming. There it is. You don't want to lose your bolt in the oil as well, otherwise you're going to have to fish that out. So you want to kind of do it just carefully, and you want to do it when it's not too hot either. You're going to burn yourself, so make sure the engine's a bit cool. So once you've left that for probably around about half an hour or so to really drain from the sump, you want to move the position over a little bit more towards the oil filter, and you've got to put the sump plug back in. Time to get some degreaser and clean things up a little bit. You don't want to have leftover oil around this part of the car or anywhere in the car, because it can cause problems or leak on your concrete, or it can get hot and start smoking as well, which is no good. So clean up your mess, get it all nice and shiny. Once it's clean, you got to put the plug screw back in, and you don't want to do it up too tight. Just give it a little crank, a little bit more, and that will do it. Right, now it's time to remove the oil filter. They can be on kind of firm, so you might want to use one of these little tools. Makes it a lot easier. Just grabs it with its little rubber grippers, and it fits into a nice little socket. Once it's loose, you want to be very gentle and slow just taking it off, because it's going to start dripping and it's going to be quite messy, as you can see, dripping all over the sort of lower control slash body subframe there. It's going to take a while to drain, so you just want to leave it as long as it takes. Get all that dirty oil out. Then you take your new filter, take that plastic off the top, and you've got to put some fresh oil on the rubber seal. So open your new oil, and you'll find there's a little bit of oil at the top of the bottle on the lid or on the cover. And you just smear that all around to get an excellent seal. You want to use fresh oil, not old oil. The old oil can actually deteriorate the rubber and it could start leaking. Just doing it up tight with your hands is fine. Just give it a good few cranks until you're happy. Time to clean up again. It's pretty messy after this part, so you want to make sure you get all of this oil off there using some, I just like using paper towel personally, and some, spray degreaser. definitely need to get back under and clean underneath from this angle as well, because there's a lot of hidden spots where it's been dripping. And yeah, once again, you just really want to clean all this oil off, because who knows what could happen there, stain your driveway, or it could just get hot and start smoking, and that's definitely never good. So it's time to put everything back together. Put the cover back on, the clips, put your wheel back on, tighten the wheel nuts and lower it down, and then retighten. I decided to just clean this panel as well while I was down here. It was pretty mucky and dirty, and you know, why not, when you're down in this area, do a few things while you're there. So you've got all your oil, you've got your old filter, and you've put your new filter in, and you've got your sump plug back in. It's actually time that you can lower the car down and start filling up with the fresh oil. I'm going to use a 5 to 40 watt fully synthetic oil for this. You need to get yourself a specific funnel for this job. As you can see, the engine sits quite far back in the bay, and to get the oil in there without spilling it everywhere, you need to buy some kind of funnel that's similar to the one I'm using here, and that's going to make things a lot easier. So the car uses about 4.5 litres of oil, but you just got to take your time with this and just do it slowly. It's probably safe to fill it up with about 3.5 or almost 4, and then sort of take it slow from there, but you just do it in stages, and then you've got to check the dipstick as you're going along. You'll see there's 2 marks on the dipstick, and you want to get the oil line to sit just above the middle of that area. So now we're going to get the door open for ventilation, and we're going to turn the car on, and we're going to set a timer for that. You see, you want to have the oil move around the engine a little bit before you get your sort of final readings. So you're going to wipe the dipstick first, and then you put it back in, then quickly take it out again and have a look at the mark, and that's an accurate reading. Right, the level is not quite where I want it to be, so I'm just going to do a little bit more. Just taking it bit by bit so that you don't overfill it. So just do the same process again. In the end, it's a bit hard to see on the camera, but I was satisfied when it got to about 3/4 full on the marking system, which I think is just nice. Job done. Give yourself a pat on the back. You've just changed your Elgrand oil.